Hello everybody, Spudheds here, coming at ya with a game of Home, a unique horror adventure by Benjamin Rivers. This has just been released. It is old school pixelated graphics. Cool, let's give it a go. Move left, right, look up, interact. Ooh, that's hard. Alright, arrow keys it is. So I'm using Handycam 2 right now because Fraps will not run on this game. It does, but the window screen is tiny and pathetic. So I'm actually using Handycam 2. So I hope that it records well. Anyway, here we go. Okay, well, excuse me. I'm wearing headphones. They crank right up, but it's daytime, and so I can't really. Yeah, it's a little bit light in here. All I remember at that point was finding myself alone. Oh my head. Where was I? It was so dark. My eyes are opening. There was something by my feet. A flashlight. Oh, I turned the flashlight on. I walk this way. And I go into the door. That house. Where was I? I'm walking left. There's a body on the floor. Who was it? I didn't recognize his face. He was still kind of warm. I didn't recognize his face. He's still kind of warm. There's a cat. There's some stairs. I noticed that I limped as I moved down the stairs. How did I hurt my leg, I wondered. All I could really recall was something coming home, seeing Rachel. I was upset. She looked afraid. I shook my head and tried to clear it. I knew I should head downstairs, try to find a way out. More stairs. Let's just keep going down the stairs. I looked like hell. My clothes were dirty and torn. And there was mud caked all over my shoes. I've been sleepwalking again. Was that how I got to that house? The front door was blocked by a pile of furniture. I knew I had to find another way out. I just knew it. Ah! The door was taped up and locked. I couldn't get through. By the smell, I guess it led to the kitchen. Or dead bodies. I didn't seem like I'd get through. How the hell did I get that hose around? Ooh! Damn, it was locked. But it didn't look like there was a keyhole. Maybe I could find another way to open it. A thin grey mouse was stuck in a trap. It looked fanatic, but exhausted. Did I free it? Yes. Of course you did. We don't murder animals. A collection of rusty tools. These looked like they'd seen a lot of use. And were caked in damp smelling dirt. Why weren't they in the shed? This was an odd place to keep yard tools. What would they have been used for here? Not gonna read it again. I found a picture of a couple. It looked like it had been moved a lot. There seemed to be a switch behind it. Did I push the switch? Of course you did. It depressed something smoothly into the wall. I heard a faraway click somewhere. I'm guessing it was a downstairs window thingamabob. So we're gonna go down there. We're gonna open that there door. But let's see what's over here first. The bookshelf was full of books on local history and hunting. Another doorway opens. Stuff. An old dining table covered in dirty dishes for 2 people. There were dozens of beer cans and other liquor bottles among the dishes. The smell was turning my stomach. A black and white photo looked like the man upstairs and his wife. I guess there was no reason for me to keep this. Did I take it? Yes. Maybe it'll help me find some answers. Maybe. Just maybe. As I headed back down the stairs to go and find out if that door was now opened. I know we're going the wrong way, but I just want to see. We already knew that. We already knew. Let me in the door. Oh my God, a secret hallway. The box looked heavy, but there were marks on the floor. It had obviously been moved before. Maybe I have found a way out. I must have moved it, right? Of course. Let us set forth. There was a ladder going underground where the box was. A dank smell rose from the passage. Did I climb down the ladder? Yes. Yes. I looked again at the photo I found in the house. The couple looked distant, like they didn't want to be in the same picture. I wondered where the wife was. My leg was in terrible shape, but I had to get out. Footprints in the dirt looked like more than one can, and a lot of traffic. It was an old map of the town. Places all over were marked. The industrial area near the river, various houses, and even the water tower near their old rail station. The guy upstairs must have done this. But what was his interest in the water tower? Newspaper clippings from the local paper. They were all about murders in town over the last few years. Wait, there were photos. Photos of our house. What the hell was that all about? Maybe I should have looked around more. Tried to find some information. Maybe. A work table covered in papers, dirt, and a handgun. I hated guns. I didn't take it, did I? Yes. Yes, you did. I tucked the small handgun into my pocket. Its weight was somehow reassuring. The desk looked old and was caked with grime. On it was a stack of old, faded paper, covered with what looks like names. They were scratched out, and ineligible notes were written beside them in faded blue ink. I could only make out a few letters. He, Ev, Heather, H-E-A-T, Heather, Graves, Heather Graves, A-he-ire, Alf, A-he-ire, Alf, Old Road. Don't make sense to me. Oh my God! There looked to be bones half dug into the ground, and the remains looked old. The faded clothes that stuck up amongst the dirt looked familiar. They looked like the clothes that woman was wearing in the photo I found. Was this the man's wife? I wonder what I would have found if I dug any deeper. Well, let's keep digging. Come on. Nope. My God. Ladder. Some kind of homemade rack, slung together with poorly cut wooden rope. It was caked with old blood. Somebody didn't actually use that, did they? Sorry. I have a bad cough. Crudely made shelves. They looked like they were holding cans of some kind of corrosive. The labels were worn and slick, but I could still see the warnings. It looked like a cage. It was small, but there was something coating the bottom. Something wet. The place was getting worse all the time. I knew I had to keep moving. Some kind of old boxes. They looked like they were years old. Wait a minute. These boxes had old clothes in them. Clothes I remembered throwing out after Rachel and I moved to town. What the hell were they doing there? Ah! Ah! I remember noticing the broken ladder. I had to be careful. I don't remember if I jumped down here or found another way. It looked to be a long way. Did I jump down? Yes. Ah! Oh. Oh. I lived. Oh, Christ, my leg hurt. I was limping even worse than before. I could hear some sort of faint humming noise up ahead. A bunch of old newspapers, wheat pasted together. A message had been hastily smeared on it. Danger! Keep out! Danger! Due to cave-in. I wanted nothing more than to get out of there. The gum was heavy and uncomfortable in my pocket. It didn't help ease the constant dull ache in my leg. I opened the metal door and was glad to have the slick, wet walls of the house tunnels behind me. What was the man upstairs up to? What was he doing there? As the musty scent of those rock walls was replaced with an altogether different smell, I braced myself. There was dirt on the ground. It looked wet, and there was grass smeared within it. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? My God! Disgusting. It was a mess of filthy garbage bags. There were rips and tears in most of the bags. What looked like an old videotape was sticking out. Did I take tape? Yes. I wasn't sure what I hoped to discover with the tape, but I took it anyway. I did not want to keep digging through this mess. Here we go. I could hear a faint trickling sound, like water. What was that? A kitchen knife covered in drying blood. Thinking about it made me sick. I didn't even want to touch it. Did I take the knife? Yes, I took the knife. I slipped the knife in my boot since I had the gun in my pocket. Did I really need all this? Why didn't I go back? I should have gone back. No, I need to go back. I need to go back? What's this way? Ah! Oh. The door was locked. There was a musty smell from inside. Oh my God. I wasn't sure, but I thought it was some kind of regulator. I had no idea how it worked. I wasn't sure what those valves were for. Did I turn anyway? Yes. Yes, I did. Through the dust, I could see handprints from previous use. Probably from whoever worked in those sewers. Oh, God. I wasn't sure what those valves were for. Did I turn it anyway? Yes. Yes, I did. I'm turning all the valves off, boy. Ain't gonna be no valve left unturned, son. Stupid valve. We have much to do, young man. Exit. There was a rusty ladder sunk into the water, which smelled disgusting. I knew I couldn't climb down that. Maybe I could find a way to drain the putrid water. Oh, snap. Does that mean I gotta go turn those stupid things back on again? Probably through the door. I've read already. I've already read that. Let's turn it all back on. Looks like I turned off the water flow in this valve. Yes. Yes, I did. What's that got to do with the price of egg and cheese? I thought I could turn this water valve to shut off its flow. Did I turn it? Yes. So I could turn it. Turn it? No. Actually. Yes. What? Ah. Oh, I see. So that one is now off. I thought I could turn this water valve to shut off its flow. Yes. Still active. Yes. Let us go. There should be no more valves. Through the dust I could see handprints from previous blah 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 blahs. Blah 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 blahs. Now let's hope that there's no water. Hooray! Well, let's kill the May. Looked like the water drained out of that grate in the wall. The safety poster had definitely seen better days. How old was that facility? The door was locked. I could see a faint light within. I'm going in. Ah! I found another dead body, a sewer worker. By the wounds all over his face and body, I figured he'd been stabbed repeatedly. There was a keyring sticking out of the man's pocket. Did I take it? Yes. I thought about the knife I'd found with some disgust as I carefully picked the keys from his pocket. I was almost worried he was going to grab me. I was feeling even more sick from seeing another dead man. I didn't want to get any more blood on my clothes. Camera! There was a security camera in the room. There must have been a way to see what had happened. Maybe the VH tape I found could be useful. Oh, I can't wait to watch it. I could smell a hint of fresh air here. I must have been near an exit of some kind. But I wondered, what did the key I found in the sewer worker do? And what was on the videotape I found? Let us go and see. I used the key ring to unlock the door. The shelf full of security tapes was strictly organized, though covered in dust. It looked like the tape I found was the one that was missing from the shelf. There was a dusty VCR on the security desk. I wonder what was on that VHS tape I found. Did I play the tape? Yes. The video showed a man right there in the sewers being attacked. The tape looked fuzzy and stretched, like somebody had tampered with it. Looked like there could have been two men. I couldn't stand to watch that video again. Let's move out. My sore leg and the extra weight I was carrying made climbing the ladder difficult. Would I really need that gun or that knife on my journey back, or had I taken them for some other purpose? The thought of that video state too gave me chills. Who was it that didn't want to be seen, and what was in that locked room? I shook my head as I reached the top of the ladder and heaved at the latch above me. Suddenly, the awful smell of that sewer gave way to the dank scent of pine trees. Oh, yeah. I like pine trees. God. What was that? What? Oh my God. The rusty door was locked tight with an old padlock. The faded sound of the door warned about some kind of train yard. It must have referred to the town's only train station. It didn't look like I'd be able to get through there at all. This must have been the entrance to the forest that was mentioned on that map I had seen. Whoever was poking around in those tunnels underneath that man's house had scribbled notes on this place, but I couldn't make them out. Here, the signs pointed out various campsites and walking paths within the woods. It mentioned a river and maybe a washroom, but the rest was too faded to see clearly. Ah! No. Well, we might as well start with the one furthest, so we don't get lost. Nasty rocks. Walk, 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 walk. Through the fence I could see a dilapidated outbuilding. I wondered if I could find my way around. Of course. Right here. Ah! There was some personal effects shoved back into the rock. Wait, there was a notebook there too. Did I read it? Yes. Inside the cheap dollar store notebook was page after warm page of names and lists. None of it made much sense. The newest page contained several names. Heather, Olivia, Ashley, Cheryl, Iris, Daphne, Holly, Rose, Rachel. Rachel? Her name was last on the list and had a mark beside it in blue ink. The names Daphne and Olivia had been crossed out in the same blue ink. Cheryl, Heather, and Rose had also been crossed out, but these marks looked older and more faded. Ah! A few embers still burned within the fire pit. Who was camping here, was it? Who else was out there in these woods? One of the two folding camp chairs was knocked over, and there was beer spilled everywhere. Where did the campers run off to in such a hurry? The quiet of the forest was suffocating. I couldn't help but feel like I was being watched. There was a cheap 2-person dome tent. Through the screen on the front I could see 2 sleeping bags, backpacks, and a small cooler. As I peered into the tent and around the campsite, I kept thinking about the names in that book. Oh, God. The grimy sink had a small patch in it that looked almost clean. There wasn't much in the way of clean water there, but the sink did work. There was a damp-smelling plank leaning against the small store. The stall door. I might have been able to cross the river with it. Did I take it? Yes. I managed to carry the plank under my arm so it didn't get in the way. The stall was covered in dirt and filth. This washroom hadn't been cleaned in a while. The sign was the same as the first one I had seen. This must have been the exit to the other side of the woods. I had finally found the exit. Once I left, I knew I wanted to never return here. Through the dense trees I could finally start to see some light. I must have been at the edge of the forest, though I wasn't sure where the path ahead of me led. I could almost feel the cryptic notebook in my pocket as I tried to think about what it could mean. And where were the campers who had abandoned their site? Would I meet them too? Though the path ahead of me was less dense, I still felt guarded and wary. Who knew what was ahead? As I stepped through the gate, I suddenly recognized the auto parts factory where I had worked as a machinist for all those years. The plant had closed almost 3 years ago. Now, times were better then. I thought I could hear a faint rustling behind me. Maybe it was just the wind. Ah! Holy shit! My God! Scared the shit out of me, man! Literally, scared the shit out of me. Oh my God! His head had been severely beaten, and his face was covered with blood. He looked like his head had been viciously beaten in with something. I couldn't stand to look. Dug into the ground was a cracked old watch. It was mine. I bought it on a trip out west with Rachel. Did I take back my watch? Yes. Even though I didn't run anymore, I clasped the watch around my wrist. Did I murder him? Was it me? Am I the murderer? Is this all but a dream? Oh my God. One of the lockers hung open. Its contents were tossed around like someone had been looking for something. Old work clothes had been picked through, and a few photos and notes had been ripped off the door and spread around. The door was locked shut. A sign was pasted to the front that said, "Danger! Closed for repairs." I didn't think it could be opened. There was no way to get through the door. There was no way to get through the door. There was a large power box with 5 lights on it. Cables burst out of the box, snaking off the other parts of the factory. The metal was starting to wear, and cobwebs had collected on the corners. The box wasn't receiving power. It didn't look like the power was on yet. The door was locked tight. It seemed to be connected to the power box beside it. Blah, 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 blah. Every part of this plant smelled old and rotted. I noticed the old bulletin board on the wall. An old break table. The layer of dust and grime only made seeing this sting more. Looked like some beer bottles had been used on the table recently. I wondered, was that guard using this as a break room of his own? The board contained yellow clippings of newspaper cartoons and notices. There were notes too, and from the guys that worked here. One of them was to Norman, who was one of the older guys on the line. A power panel. Looked like it was shut off. Did I push the switch? Yes. The power panel still wasn't working. Should I switch it again? Yes. Oh my god. The open locker was stuffed with dirty work clothes and old boots. There was a photo of a woman taped to the inside, but it was scratched out, and the face was unrecognizable. That woman's photo. I knew I had to get back to Rachel to find out what happened. Oh. Looked like it was shut off. Did I push it on? Yes. It was shut tight. There was a rusty looking card slot on the side. Blah, 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 blah. Oops. Need to find myself a card. Had to get back to Rachel. That's down. That's up. The door had been hastily boarded up. Let me in. This was Norman's locker. The door was dented like someone had punched it. I don't remember him doing that when we worked there. My head ached and I recalled the last time Norman, Rachel and I all had lunch together. Rachel seemed so much more at ease when we all hang out. Another panel that I hoped could help me get the power back on. Did I push the switch? Yeah. A utility shelf, crammed with mismatched tools and items. There was a claw hammer on the shelf. Did I take the hammer? Yes. As I took the hammer, I noticed it wasn't as dusty as the rest of the tools on the shelf. Maybe you murdered that man with that hammer. Being useful and productive. There in this plant, that was all I ever wanted. When the factory closed, everything got worse. The locker was a complete mess. Hidden at the bottom was a magnetic card. Yes, you took the card. I slipped the key card into my pocket. Another panel that I hoped could help me get the power back on. Did I push the switch? Yes. Another panel. Yes. Still wasn't working. Should I switch it again? Yeah. And this one too. Yeah. Switch that on. And again. It sounds like the power's back on, everybody. Sounds like we have power, everybody. Well, let's go through that door. Oh my god. There shouldn't be any noise. This factory's abandoned. Oh. Yes. There was some kind of ventilation hatch there. It looked like I could jump to the room below. I really didn't want to damage my leg anymore. Did I jump down? Yes. Jesus, my leg was shooting with pain. I wasn't going to be able to move too quickly on it. There was a crumpled up letter on the floor. It had been scratched out heavily and it was hard to make out. Did I try to read the letter? Yes. Most of the letter was violently scratched out in what looked like to be a ballpoint pen. All I could make out was, need to. Just don't. Drinking. Need. Norman. Who was Norman writing to? That poor guard. Was the flashlight I carried his? I looked like he had met his end violently. I only hoped it was quick. I had to get home, to go to Rachel, but I couldn't stop thinking about Norman. He and Rachel were friends. Could he help? It wasn't like I really had anyone else to turn to. My leg burned with pain. I only hoped I could find my way through the dark path before me and get to Norman's store. Sounded like it was going to start raining again. I had entered Norman's place. This was the back of the store that he ran. It was oddly quiet, except for the faint sound of a television. I needed to check that place out to see if I could find Norman or get help. The entrance to the front of the store was locked from the inside. It looked like I couldn't just pop it open. It needed a key. There was a bit of blood in the keyhole. Must check other side. Oh. What the hell? One of Rachel's old autumn coats hung on a rack. That was Norman's bedroom, wasn't it? What was this doing there? A speck of something dark and wet stained one of the sleeves. Inside the cabinet was a small but impressive collection of hunting rifles, shotguns, and even a few items I didn't think were legal here. One of the slots on the rack was empty. The gun I had found seemed to match the others there. If the handgun was Norman's, what the hell was he doing with it? The gun would fit there. Did I place it back in the cabinet? Yes. I carefully pushed the piece back in place and felt a great burden lifted. Norman, what were you doing with all these? The TV still flickered, some indecipherable channel. I couldn't make out what was on the screen, but that glow just gave me the chills. Jesus! I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Norman! My co-worker! And one of the few friends I had in this town lay dead beside his armchair. His face and shirt were covered in blood. It looked like he'd been shot trying to get up. Excuse me. His eyes were wide with shock, though they were already dying. Norman! What was Rachel doing here? Why did you have her coat? Norman! Maybe you deserve better. You probably did. Did I close his eyes? Yes. I closed his eyelids down, shuddering as I did so. I wasn't sure if I wanted to give him peace or I just couldn't stand to think any more what was going on. I hope to hell Rachel had nothing to do with that mess. I guess this was Norman's kitchen table. He kept it clean enough, but there were water rings from 2 cups still there in the wood. I'd never been to Norman's place before, at least I didn't remember ever doing so. The kitchen trash bin smelled fresh. I didn't dig through that mess, did I? Yes. I found a hairpin amongst the rotting food and trash and pocketed it. Well done. There were take-out containers and food scraps. Looked like Norman was eating for 2. I used the hairpin to pick the lock. The hairpin snapped in half, so I threw it away. The general store was small, but it was clean. It had the usual things: postcards, snacks, magazines, and canned foods. I never went there much. Rachel usually stopped by after work if we needed anything. The register was mostly empty, and a fat stack of travel magazines sat beside it. I wondered if someone had robbed the place before killing Norman upstairs. The icebox seemed to be unplugged. It must have been off for a while. Most of the contents were half melted. I could only think of poor Norman upstairs. There were various postcards from the area, especially from the tourist traps. One of the postcards showed an old black and white photo of the water tower. It looked to be in much better shape then. Norman was dead, but I had no idea why. Was he involved in all this somehow, or was he just another victim? That gun I had found only seemed to complicate matters. It was such a relief to finally be rid of it. Home wasn't far off now. Even though the rain was relentless, I had to keep going. It was locked. This wasn't the right gate. The gate was locked tight. This wasn't my house. The gate was locked tight. It wasn't my house. The neighbourhood's local postbox. A letter was sticking out as if someone hadn't pushed it all the way in. I knew it wasn't right, but did I look at the letter? Yes. There was no return address, but envelope was addressed to Norman. Carefully I tore it open and looked at the letter. Inside it read, "Stay away, she's mine." That was it. No signature, no other information. Who wrote this? Jesus, Norman, what did you get yourself into? I had the wrong gate. This one was locked. Oops. I had entered our backyard. The rain gave me a terrible sense of foreboding, and it chilled me through the clothes. I was expectant, but also afraid. I held my breath as I approached our back door. I was terrified to step inside. The house was painfully quiet. The only sound was my own breathing, ragged and strained. I flicked the light switch. By the door the power was off. The table was clean. It hadn't been used any time recently. The door to the basement, it was locked. Where had I put the damn key? The front door was locked from inside. I couldn't go out through. I needed to see if Rachel was somewhere. Our television, I had purchased it before I knew I was going to lose my job. I felt pretty guilty about it afterward, but by then it was too late. Rachel was pretty angry about that, I realised. The door was stuck shut. There was an old-fashioned keyhole underneath the handle. Our hallway mirror had been smashed, its pieces scattered around the floor. Our sink, which needed to be replaced. One of the taps always stuck, but I hadn't got around to fixing it yet. That old house was charming for sure, but it wasn't always easy. We were lucky enough to get a house with one of those wonderful old claw-footed bathtubs. It seemed impractical at times, but it was part of what made the house home. My laptop had been left on and only had a tiny bit of power left. On the screen was a website about the old water tower. There was a key in the top drawer of my desk. Did I take it? Yes. I pocketed the key. The laptop was warm. It had been running for a while. The books there were half mine, half Rachel's. And now that I looked more closely, it looked like the man in the house had some of the same books as I did. One book in particular seemed a bit odd. I remember owning it, but not that edition. There was a suitcase on the bed. It was Rachel's. I remembered it from that trip we took out west. Did I open the suitcase? Yes. I wasn't sure what to make of the suitcase contents. Inside was a few days' worth of clothes, some toiletries, and a train ticket. Where was she planning to go? This wasn't getting me anywhere. I unlocked the basement door. There were old Christmas decorations in the box. I couldn't even remember our last Christmas. The garbage bags were stuffed with old paint cans and supplies. There was a dirty old key here. Did I take the key? Yes. I took the small key and tried to remember what it unlocked. There were old clothes, tools, and other things we obviously hadn't thrown out yet. We had way too much junk. I had put up this divider wall last summer so we could create a separate room in the basement. I hadn't finished it yet, so the door was stuck and the drywall was poorly installed. I might have been able to break through if I found something heavy enough. Whoops. The Garmin key I found in the basement unlocked the door. It looked like the room had been tossed around. The furniture was a mess. Did somebody break in here? There was an old crowbar on the floor. Did I need to take the crowbar? Yes. I lifted the heavy crowbar. I appreciated its weight. By the looks of it, the crowbar had broken a few things. The crowbar I found would have been strong enough to burst through that cheap wall. Did I break through the wall with the crowbar? Yes. With a heave, I swung the crowbar at the wall. I smashed a hole large enough to step through. As I stepped through the broken wall, my breath caught in my throat. This was it. Was Rachel down here? Was she okay? Don't look. A filthy-looking pile of rags had been dumped in the corner. The stench of them was awful and made my eyes water. I was terrified to even touch the pile to see what lay within, but I knew I had to. I had to come this far. After all this searching, after all I had seen, when I looked within the rags, did I finally see my Rachel? Yes. Nothing to see here. What? What? Maybe I would use some of Rachel's travel books and find some place to go. No matter what, I needed some kind of escape. That was all. This was that old photo of that other man and wife, his wife I assumed. I found it in that house. I recalled those faded remains I had found deep underneath his house. What had he done there? Or what did I think? Was that man involved in this whole mess somehow? Yes, definitely. Those tunnels, those odd tools in his house, and the remains of his wife. He wasn't innocent, that's for sure. I couldn't leave, not until I had enough thought about this some more. I needed answers. From now on, I had have no one to get angry with me for stupid things like buying the TV. And thinking about things like that made me sick with grief. My old office safe sat on the floor. I used to keep tax records and other important documents in it. I used a digital passcode lock. Did I try to open it? Yes. The safe used an 8-digit code. What was that damn code again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? No, that wasn't it. Damn, I couldn't remember. I leafed through the notebook I had taken from the forest. In it were the names that had been written down. Heather, Olivia, Ashley, Cheryl, Iris, Daphne, Holly, Rose, Rachel. Those poor girls, were they victims of the same person who had killed Rachel? I wonder what happened to the other names on that list. Or the ones scratched out on the desk in those wet tunnels. It was the key card I found in the factory, the one that allowed me to slip through that door. It seemed to me that it was probably Norman's, but it was true. What was he doing back at the plant? Did I think Norman was going back to the factory? Yes. Who else would it have been? Norman, what were you doing back there? The laptop had finally run out of power. The reflection was that grimy glass was only a shadow whisper. The quiet in the room unnerved me terribly. I still love the old blah, blah, blah. Rachel loved this part of the house. Yeah. Can I go up even more? Or is that it? What's in here? And what's this way again? Okay. But who had killed him? But who had killed him? No matter what, I needed some kind of escape. What am I doing back here? How did I get from the basement to here? What's this way? Ah! And this is that note, the thing on the floor room. Yep, that. It seemed like I'd seen all there was. Maybe I thought I was ready to go back into the basement. I guess I was ready to face the truth now. It was a knife I had found in the sewers. I left it here because I didn't want it near me anymore. Was all this my fault? Was I responsible for Rachel's death? If I was guilty, I could take this to a warm, safe place and do something about it. Did I pick up the knife? Yes. I took the knife and kept it firmly in my hand. I couldn't get back into that room again. I needed to put an end to the situation one way or another. There will be no more dinners here. No more chit-chat over breakfast. At least not for us. I must have locked the door. There was no reason to go into the backyard again. That was it. With Rachel gone, I couldn't stand to be in that house a moment any longer. Did I leave and say goodbye to that nightmare forever? Yes. Since I had arrived in town, things had been difficult. Working in the plant, though it had been good for me, it kept me in line, gave me something to do, and helped me get away from my past. When the factory closed, everything changed. I guess that was when I had started sleepwalking, disappearing for hours at a time. Drinking was probably just a way to deal with that. It was almost as if I was trying to beat my brain at its own game. Things stopped making sense after some time. After that, and my memories of what happened are still in flux. But I know Rachel had tried. I know she had tried to be there for me, even when everything was falling apart. This night had unearthed terrible truths, but I knew it was a final act of a long-standing horror I'd been living. Waking up in that house tonight was a final cruelty. I wish I had remained unconscious in that room forever. It was obvious to me that the man I had found in that house had something to do with all this. Could he have killed Rachel? It started to seem that there were too many things I had seen to think otherwise. I knew Norman wasn't completely innocent in all this. He was obviously going back to the factory, rooting in those lockers. But had he brought that poor guard I found to his end? It certainly seemed so. But I almost didn't want to believe it. I had to catch my breath to take it all in. Up until the factory, things had only gotten worse. But then I had seen something even I wouldn't have expected. When I went to Norman's store, that was when my perspective of all this really started to change. Poor Norman was dead, but I had no idea what had happened to him. But as painful as all of that was, oh God, I couldn't bear to think about it again. After all I had done and seen, finally coming home was supposed to be the end of this entire ordeal. God help me, though it was only the beginning. As I swung open the door and stepped out into the air, I caught the scent of wet grass and fog. Rachel, my beautiful wife. Just the thought of her again, cold and inert. She shook me from the head to toe. What would I do now? Who could I turn to? It would only be a matter of time before the police got involved. Neighbours knew. The front lawn was soft and giving beneath my feet, and I couldn't shake the urge that I shouldn't stand there, but rather that I should run. That's it, guys. My God. I didn't know. I enjoyed that. It was a good story. Well, for $2.50 that cost me, guys. I hope that you enjoyed the video too. Whoa, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, guys. Favorite, all that sort of cool stuff. Support me. And that's it for me, guys. Spudheads out.